still in the music sphere. Speaking of a person that just dropped an album, Andre 3000, one of the literal goats, greatest of all times, back making music, but not in a way that we all love and enjoy. This is not an Outcast album. This is not a solo rap album. He's just making music. And a lot of people were kind of thrown off by that initially. But he's definitely going on a bit of a media run explaining his perspective and where he's at mentally. So according to this one post, Andre 3000 says it sometimes feels inauthentic for him to rap. I don't have, and he's quoted saying, I don't have anything to talk about in that way. I'm 48 years old, almost 50. What a legend. Let's hear what he has to say. So, go there first.
Again, volume warning.
48 years old, and not to say that age is a thing that dictates what you rap about, but in a way it does. And like things that happen in my life, like what do you talk? Like I got to go get a colonoscopy. Like what do you? Like what do you rap about? You know what I mean? Like my eyesight is going bad. Like.
Go back to, there's another clip. We'll go back to that. So yeah, I mean that was obviously a clip from a larger interview that he did, but yeah, like the notion is he's being super blatantly real and honest about his situation, and he just feels like he doesn't necessarily have things to rap about. Obviously, rap like a lot of other genres of music, but rap in particular is very a very what my reality, what I'm going through, what I've gone through type of genre. And authenticity is definitely one of the key components of it, or at least that's what we've been kind of not raised to think, but geared to think, so to speak. So in a way, you almost gotta respect it, because a lot of artists do rap about lifestyles and things that they haven't in their real life consumed or been a part of, and he's coming out and saying, "Hey, I'm at this age. What am I gonna rap about?" Now, obviously, we do have senior rap artists or senior hip hop artists in his age bracket. Nas, Jay-Z, to name a few. It hasn't even been that long since like Dr. Dre has been rapping or putting out music.
Big Boy,
yeah, his little
the
Wu-Tang, Snoop, like a lot of artists from his era are putting out music still to this day. So you do look at it with an eye, but honestly, everyone's different. But I mean, this is definitely a unique situation because, again, as far as we know, if you're a rapper, you just rap until you can't rap no more, or until nobody cares. Honestly, 1000 is a person people still very much care about, which is why this is even news. So, I mean, I guess what it boils down to is, what do y'all think of when y'all hear this? Do y'all think that a rapper or an artist does get to a point where they can't create the art or the music that they once could create? Like, do you fully believe his sentiments and that he really just is out of things to talk about or rap about? I think you had some thoughts on this before, Ghost, but what do you think now?
I think he believes that. I think if someone had a gun to his head and said, make a rap album and make it good, he could sit down and make one of the best rap albums of the past few years. But that's not where his head's at. And I mean, I don't like it. I'll listen to the Flute album. I'm probably not gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, we're definitely listening to it.
I want to hear a rap album, but again, it'd be one thing if he was teasing like he was gonna release an actual rap album. He dropped this instead, but he wasn't disingenuous with it. So I can't be too mad at it. It's just more disappointment than the fact that we can't hear full length product from him, but outside the Outkast stuff. But I do kind of agree in that, where I think it's interesting when you look at like Nas in particular, who's still doing it, dropping essentially an album a year, multiple albums a year. I be thinking just like, what do you have to rap about, bro? Like he's dropped like at least 10 albums, and he's still like, when you listen to his new stuff, it doesn't. Well, some of it feels repetitive a little, but it's not egregious.
He's been rapping for better than 25 years.
He's still dropping bars. And it's like you sit back, you're like, damn, what do you say? Like, damn, I was kind of like, he's still making great music. So it's kind of just, if I was in his position, I kind of feel like Andre, like I wouldn't know what to rap about, but it's impressive on any of the older rappers that are still making music. And even though I'm pissed that Andre 3000's dropping ambient music to fall asleep to, I mean, you do you, bro. I mean, don't expect anyone to listen to it, but do you?
Oh, people are gonna listen to it.
People are gonna listen to it. People aren't gonna re-listen to it.
They're gonna clown it.
Yeah, that is
like they have been the past week.
As someone that's seems like, or you're expressing pretty much disappointment in it, and you mentioned like other artists like rapping about, and you're kind of surprised about how they rap about. In particular, what do you think if and when older artists rap and they try to either sound like the newer day and age sound, or the stuff that they rap about, like when they they're throwing like a bar about like a meme that's floating around.
God.
Like, what do you think about that though?
Nas be doing that shit.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking of a few bars myself.
It's sometimes it does work. A lot of the times it's corny, but if you're a corny rapper, like if it was Drake doing this shit like 20 years from, how old is Drake now? I don't even know. He's like 35. He was doing this shit when he was 50. It'd be corny. When Nas does it, it's kind of corny. Sometimes it works, but there's a limit. Like, I think he straddles a line between being old school and staying kind of current-ish pretty well. A lot of artists are not able to do that, and some artists are just fully old school and aren't really on the new school wave. I've got Black Thought. He's old as shit too. And
He's definitely.
I think Black Thought is honestly making his best music.
Facts.
It's wild to even think about. But like Black Thought is like, he drops every single track. It's like, did he just say that? And I don't know how he does it really, more so than any other artist I've ever thought that about. But it's kind of besides the point.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. When it gets to the point where I cringe listening to Nas' stuff, then I'll know it's time for him to hang it up. But we haven't gotten to that point yet, so I'm not too mad at it.
I think we got there, we passed it, and now we're back to good Nas.
I kind of think it's overstated the bad Nas period, because he had some subpar projects, but it wasn't ever, in my opinion, like awful.
Gotcha.
So, I get what you're saying, but he's definitely had kind of a resurgence, but it was never unlistenable.
Fair enough. And you mentioned something about inspiration. I do want to cover that, but I guess real quick. What do you think? What do you think of when you hear this, Ace? Does it make you think or realize that an artist can get to a point where they can't create the same art where they used to? Like, do you truly believe that?
I believe it's up to the artist. Like it is for the artist to decide what their limits are, and I think Andre did put it very well why he doesn't feel like he can make a rap album, because the stuff that came to his mind as things that he could possibly talk about, like a colonoscopy and his vision going bad.
Hey, yo.
Like those are very personal things that, yeah, for the most part, nobody's going to want to hear, especially on a rap song, because you expect a certain energy, you expect a certain like subject matter when you hear rap, because it caters, like the sound of rap caters to certain vibes.
I feel like if anyone, he could slip it in. Like,
He could
be rapping about something, be like, "Oh, I got my eye exam on."
Right. But I think in his perspective, the way he's putting it, it seems like those are the only things on his mind at this point.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so he's not going to make whole song, like a whole song about it, is not really gonna work.
Definitely not whole songs about it, but you definitely can admit, like, you've heard rappers or just artists in general, like, put some bars in about some things that, like, you in generally, like, it's either not applicable to your life or you would never think a person would rap about that they're going to. And but then it's time to
be rapping about like asthma. He's in the hospital for asthma and stuff.
So like that,
and all his health stuff.
Yeah.
Rappers have definitely had a history of rapping about their health stuff and what's going on in their life.
Of course, but I think too, if Andre thinks it's gonna be boring, regardless, like it doesn't really matter necessarily what the perception of other people is towards the song. If he doesn't think it's worth making art about, then and that's the only things that really come to his mind when if he gets into a studio, it's like the only thing I'm thinking about is like all these different, I mean not necessarily all these problems that I have, but just monotonous like day to day things. Then if it doesn't inspire him, it doesn't inspire him.
But do you think an artist can feel sometimes if they have like a block or they don't have any inspiration, but in reality, if they actually stuck to it or did like change up their methodology, they could get to a point where they are at the same level or even better than they used to be? Like, are you just completely taking him at face value, or do you think there could be more to it if they really wanted to or tried to?
That's tough. Like, on the one hand, while I do think having some type of pressure or some type of like almost like a gun to your head type situation to put something out, it can inspire something great, but at the same time, is that necessarily something I want from an artist? Like for them to be forced to produce something just for my benefit?
I mean, as a consumer,
as a consumer, you just drop an Andre 3000 diss track and just completely wreck his flute album. So he has the inspiration.
That. I mean, in that way, I would be cool with it. But just like, I don't know, from a perspective, like I don't know, I can't even think of a situation where it would be something where he'd be forced to do it. Like
I said, gun to the head.
That's pretty much it, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, can we maybe chill on that?
But no, the other thing I wanted to say is, like all that being said, I 100% agree that there are things that an older rapper can rap about that are completely compelling. And Ghost, and I think Quest lists a bunch of rappers that are still doing it today, are still rapping about things that sound compelling in the form of rap, and it still works. I think it truly is just a matter of still, like, there has to be a sense of growth. Like, I don't want to hear an artist rapping about stuff that a young kid is rapping about, not giving an F or whatever. Like, things, it can't be the same kid rapping, at 40, 50 years old about the same subject matter. There has to be growth. In my mind, there has to be growth. But other than that, like...
And you're interested in hearing that? You're interested in hearing mature artists?
Yes. So maybe Andre is somebody that could do that type of rap now in his older years. But maybe he isn't. Like, maybe he doesn't have, these grand political views or views about, I don't know, like society or inequality or these bigger ideas that you would want to hear from an older artist. So if he doesn't, I don't want, I don't think he should be forced to try to make an album with those grander, themes and subject matter in mind, because maybe he just he doesn't have it in him to do it. Like, we know how great of a rapper he is, but maybe he just isn't inspired by that type of subject matter at this point.
Yeah, I definitely would never, and we talked about things like this, we never want to be in the place of an artist, well, either forcing an artist to make music or an artist feeling forced to make music. But on the lines of conversation regarding inspiration, salute to Andre 3000. Admittedly, we don't really know what he's been up to in his latter parts of his career, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with an artist getting out the way, staying out the way, just doing their own thing, being chill. But I think one aspect of inspiration that a lot of artists still have that allows them to continue, especially rappers, is being in a space in which there are other artists, there are other rappers, where they still are consuming the content that's out there, and especially the content of their peers. Like, I wonder, even with this current day mentality of, hey, I'm just living my, quote unquote older life, even though 50 isn't really that old in the grand scheme of things. So when I have much to talk about, would he feel the same way if he was not constantly, but still still doing regular studio sessions with Big Boy, or doing studio sessions with Nas? And Nas in particular, I remember watching a clip of him recently, and he was talking about I think we talked about it. Like, he was he got a beat from Hit Boy or somebody, and he was like, I got that bug to
yeah.
I got energized. I got to get back out there. Like, I wonder if it's a thing where he's living a life in which he's not getting inspiration, or if he's literally just, no matter what I do, I can't. I got that writer's block in me. Again, we don't know, and I don't want to put anything out there, but I could imagine as a rapper and a person that's rapped at the level he has. I mean, there's some evidence, not a lot. There's some evidence that leans towards they're not putting themselves in a position to be inspired.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know his life, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's living the same life now as he was living 10 years ago, or last Outkast album, whenever that came out. And it really is.
That wasn't 10 years ago.
It's about the inspiration more so than the lifestyle, which I don't know. That could be accurate, could be off, but
The other thing I was thinking too along those lines is, when somebody is getting into rap at a young age, their life in general, especially if they're not, until they become successful, is very different. And rap, I'm sure, is seen as a way for them to, to get wealth, to get to do the things that
Every rapper wants to blow up and forget,
exactly.
act like they don't know nobody.
Exactly. So before that time, there's obviously going to be a hunger that.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, that comes from that drive, and at his older age, I'm sure he doesn't have that hunger anymore because he's not in that mindset. He's not in a place where he's not successful, and he needs this to get somewhere he wants to get in life. It's not something that he needs to do anymore. And full disclaimer, I don't know the whole history of Andre 3000 or whatever, but yeah, I would suspect that that's probably another factor too.
No, that's an excellent point. One other thing that came to my mind is, again, we don't know anything about his lifestyle, but I do recall, it might have even been multiple artists, but I know must have been at least one for sure, there are artists that chase Andre 3000 verses. Like, either, at one point in time he said, oh, yeah, we'll work together, or it's been seeming like it's been a possibility, but for whatever reason it didn't pan through. So there are still artists that are in the past been trying to reach him to get that verse or to get that more music, and maybe he's been feeling this way for a while now. So before he was in his latter 40s, maybe even into his 30s, as we know, he hasn't been producing a lot of music throughout the latter parts of his career. But again, I bring that up to say, I think there in theory could be inspiration there, and even people that are wanting him and maybe even providing their own verses or their own support to do it. I'm sure he gets 1 million beats per day. It's probably not a matter of production. It's probably not a matter of people that wouldn't rap with them. So maybe it really just is his perspective and his mentality in all of this. Which, I mean, again, I don't want to ever be in the business of forcing an artist or an artist feeling forced to make music, because What would be worse, this or if he put out a trash album? Not the flute stuff. If he put out a bad rap album,
probably it would be worse if he put out a bad rap album. It depends if it's bad relative to him or bad relative to just.
It's bad. It's just bad.
Yeah,
it's bad by any standards.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Well, we don't have to touch on it too quick, but we got a comment from a boy out of Run. He was saying how it's different for different genres, which it is pretty interesting because I feel like this whole conversation we're having is exclusive to rap. Like we were talking about any other genre, pop, rock, indie.
I actually do have another genre that this apply, or maybe not genre, but at least artist, and Quest already knows. Linkin Park, I think, is a great example of an art or a band who I think outlived or just continued to make the same sounding songs, or like continued to touch on the same themes without really growing in my mind. And anybody who's familiar with Linkin Park, especially their older stuff, it was all about kind of feeling out of place. There was a lot of angst. There was a lot of different type of relationship subject matter, and it all felt very adolescent.
Yep.
And to me, to be perfectly honest, I didn't listen to all of their discography after a certain point. I think
no one's gonna fault you for that.
Yeah,
no,
Minutes to Midnight, and
like
afterwards,
salute to Linkin Park forever. Rest in power to Chester.
Fell off. Yeah, but I did feel like there was a lack of growth and a lack of just changing the subject matter and growing with the audience.
Do you feel only that way because of their specific subject matter, or would you feel that way about any rock? Because like, if you listen to like, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know, Radiohead doesn't really. They kind of make music now with the Smile. Let me think of some other artists. The Strokes, I guess. Like, it's kind of hard to find artists that were active like 20 years ago and now.
Yeah.
But they didn't change it up that much. I mean, they do to an extent. It's, in general, rock and indie lyrics are more abstract than hip hop. It's more straightforward, but I don't know. There is some changes, but a lot of the stuff isn't changing up that much. So
you are right, and I'm thinking about like, maybe there's like punk bands out there or things like that where
Pierce the Veil or some shit.
Yeah, well, not Pierce the Veil, but
I'm
like
pretty sure they still make the same music.
Yeah, but
just like full punk. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and obviously that's from like a purely angst.
Well, what about like, not that they're punk? What about Rage Against the Machine? If Rage dropped the album tomorrow, going against the system, the same shit they were talking about 20 years ago. You tell me you want?
I mean,
that's a theme
that's immature.
Yeah, that's a theme that can progress.
So it's the immaturity that.
Yeah,
and specifically going back to his point about like younger artists, like a part of that drive is what they're gonna be rapping about is they're gonna be talking about like what they were recently experiencing while they were in the streets or in whatever condition they were in before they got popping, and it's gonna be like we know what YoungBoy, not to specifically talk about YoungBoy, we know what YoungBoy rap sounds like. It's different from what like a Jay-Z and his latter parts of his career sounds like. And not to say the content has to change like completely, but I very much understand what Ace is talking about when there's no growth in the music. I guess real quick, we don't want to spend too much more time on this, but this also doesn't seem like it's applicable to like jazz either, even though there's no necessarily vocals in jazz. But like it seems like we respect the jazz artists when they increase with age, and it seems like there's no. I mean, do you ever hear a jazz artist talk about inspiration? I never really listened to too many interviews or anything like that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't go on my way to listen to jazz artist interviews either.
Wes, we need you.
It's different because, I mean, for one,
it's
you're not
pure emotion. Like, It's not. There's no lyrics attached to it. I mean, for the most part.
I don't think it's about the lyrics. I mean, it's. I can understand why we're tying to lyrics because based off what 3K said, but I think at the end of the day, it's just inspiration.
I think with jazz, it's very, very apparent when artists are drawing different inspiration or the progression in their music. Like, it's super clear. You listen to something from an earlier artist to a later period, and it can be totally different. And some of it is trash, some of it is still good, but I don't know. I guess it kind of comes across in jazz just in a different way, but it doesn't feel like there's the level of, I don't know, disrespect, but unwillingness from artists to, or from listeners to listen to something new from the artist, even if it's wildly different from the earlier stuff. But I don't know, it's kind of different for jazz.
It is very. I mean, just from a perspective of like going to the Monday Night Jazz. If you saw when you see an older guy or an older jazz artist on the stage, there's not really a perception of, oh, this might sound bad because this person is old.
Yeah.
There's really not. That doesn't really exist. Like you kind of.
Yeah, jazz. You always get better with age.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it is different.
Yeah, there's always going to be some differences across the genres, and again, while I think there are, the main component is inspiration. When you have to rap and put lyrics in actually that mindset of, hey, what I'm going to talk about, how the cadence is going to sound, how the melody is going to sound, that is a big component as well. And is the lyrics going to be meaningful?
I think it really does center around the lyrics, because even a rock guitarist, like if they were part of a band, if they're playing something solo, like if there's a solo guitarist and they're like a freaking virtuoso, it doesn't matter how old they are. You still, like, the interest to see them play is still going to be there just as much, I think, because there's no question of like, are they being immature or have they grown in their subject? And it's not. It's all just purely about the music.
Think Tool still raps on the same shit they used to.
Tool's not rapping, first of all.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking about rock, but
yeah. We could have a whole discussion about Tool, but
man, there's so many. This has actually been an interesting conversation because there's other things I want to kind of bring up, and I also want to be kind of get on time. But there's also, like, for one, since the lyrics do hold like a lot of not value, but a lot of weight to them, in the sense that when you are in our lyrics in the equation, you have to have a lot of gravity and thematicness to them. Why don't we give rappers more critical acclaim? Why rappers are just like these guys that are just been on the microphone, but jazz musicians and rock legends are like, we view them as holy legends.
Wait, what do you mean?
Who's we?
We
We're talking about we.
Obviously not literally us, but we all know rappers aren't necessarily get the same level of acclaim. Like, that's why it's such a big deal when like a rapper gets in the rock and roll Hall of Fame.
People still think rap is the cause of all violence in America, so it's like.
Yeah, I think it's very much a societal thing too.
Respect.
I don't think it's never because I don't know the whole history of jazz, but I feel like there was a very similar perception when jazz started to become popular. So
yes, and also there's kind of the train of thought of like, well, I mean, while in general I think a consumer or a fan would like to see some level of growth within an artist, there's a lot of fans and supporters that they start liking an artist for some reason, and they kind of want that artist to stick to that theme. Like, they don't want that artist to bridge or like start talking about different subject matter. And what does an artist do in that predicament? Do they give fans what they want, or do they go in the direction of or whatever, or however they're going?
Can't please everyone. So.
Facts.
I say I'm in favor of the artist, but probably knowing that I have been the fan that's been like, yo, stop making this music. Go back to what you did before.
You can make different music as long as it's good. The problem is a lot of these artists be making garbage music.
Yep.
Yeah, why are you so far away from your mic? Anyway,
Oh shoot!
it's fine. That's it's a good conversation when you just
I leaned forward. I forgot.
when you just kind of chilling with your homeboys. But yeah, we're obviously no music podcast, so take our comments and opinions with a grain of whatever Himalayan salt you use. Um, but yeah, no, salute to Andre 3K. We still will listen to your album, and yeah, I hope he does find some inspiration to rap again. Oh yeah, there was another clip. I guess we can hear a little bit of that. I think it's more of the same, but we can tap into it real quick. So, the volume.
God damn it.
But this is literally the way the wind blew me this time. And so for me, like I already knew how people would be looking at it, and I didn't want to troll people. I didn't want people to think, oh, this Andre 3000 album is coming, and you play it and like, oh man, ain't no verses. So even actually on the packaging, you'll see it. It says, warning, no bars. So it's kind of like it's letting you know what it is off the top. Mm-hmm. But also like this is true, man. Like I really you understand. Like I love rap music because it was a part of my youth. So I would love to be out here rapping with everybody rapping because it's almost like fun of being on the playground playing. Like I would love to be out here playing with everybody, but it's like it's just not happening for me. So this is the realest thing that's coming right now. Not to say that I would never do it again, but those are not the things that are coming right now. And
So yeah, like I said before, he didn't just drop his album blindly and like left people in the dust or in like a surprise state. He was very vocal about what this album was gonna be like before it dropped. He definitely laid the expectations, and I guess if there's any saving grace to this particular clip is that he's not like a never ever forever ever type of thing. He could rap again, but this is the space he's in right now. And it seems like if he does whatever space he's in, he's gonna be transparent about what it is beforehand, so you don't just pick up a on the DK album and have your own expectation about it. But if there's nothing else, we can move on to the next. And actually,